Hello and welcome to the virtual towers of Binary Arcadia, where the game's gone long into the night. Today, we're talking all things Switch, and specifically, what's to come in hardware. So, Tabs, what do you know?
Well, I'll just grab my sheet, my dossier of information. No, we don't know anything. Nothing's confirmed. The only thing Nintendo said, and I think this was before Reggie Fils-Aimé retired, was that they're focusing on their existing hardware and everything that's out, and they're not making any of the... They didn't even say that, I don't think. So there's nothing firmed.
And we're reading between the lines there that what they're really saying is we're doing something with our current hardware. That's really what we're thinking, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean...
So what he means by we're not looking at new hardware, as in we're not creating anything new, we're looking inboard on what we've already got.
Well, to be fair, I don't even think you can draw that much into what he said, to be honest, mate. Just because it was that kind of very corporate line that you give to the press because they don't want to let on anything, you know. Because at the end of the day, if they give any hint that they are working on new Switch SKUs, then, you know, people are going to be holding off buying the existing Switch, and that's going to affect their bottom line, their shareholders.
Yeah.
So they don't want to let on at all. They'll only do it when they're ready, when they've got everything, you know, in a perfect position to say, we're going to go green with this. They want to do it. I think they'll do a quick announcement into a short period of time before they actually launch the products, which could be Christmas this year. Who knows?
So what we're really saying is the rumours on the streets, or on the grapevine in this case, are that there's looking like, and again, this is all based on rumours, there's no factual evidence here at the moment, that there's going to be 2 new iterations of the Switch. That's what we're sort of suggesting. The first one being a Pro. What are we thinking on that, Tabs?
Yeah, I mean, it's buzzing all over YouTube, and we know that Eurogamer published an article insinuating there was going to be a Switch Pro and a Switch Mini released this year, between summer and the end of the year, essentially, end of 2019. Mm-hmm. Eurogamer have got a pretty good track record for publishing articles which have, you know, some weight to them. So it's still not confirmed, but for a lot of people in the industry, that's as good as confirmation that they're working on something here. So with the Switch Pro, there's just nothing firm out there. The fact that it's called Switch Pro makes you think of PS4 Pro, and what we know of the PS4 Pro, well, it was kind of aimed at the kind of elite gaming market that have all the cutting edge tech, that are bothered about really getting great resolutions, rock solid frame rates. Yeah. So you kind of guess, wouldn't you, that's the market they're going for with the Switch Pro, based on what we know.
So we're thinking possibly a complete overhaul, maybe a new graphics chip, we're thinking, Tabs?
I'm hoping. I would absolutely love it. I was one of these people when the Switch, in the run-up to the release of the original Switch, there was a lot of kind of pressure on, are they going to go for the Tegra X2 system on chip instead of the Tegra X1? And the Tegra X2 has a number of advantages. It's not a million miles away, but it had a number of advantages, and it just seemed like a better fit for the Switch, especially because of the power efficiency of it, which apparently
which is all important when you're running on battery. It doesn't really matter so much when you're on the dock, but if you're running on battery, that's a big thing, you know.
Absolutely.
That's the difference between depleting your battery and not, basically.
Yeah, on a portable device, which is essentially tied to the power, you have to think about heat, because obviously you don't want them overheating, burning up, degrading the actual components, and also in your hand when you're playing on it, you don't want to deal with a burning hot console. So they have to think about heat and also battery life. You know, at the minute, what was Zelda rich when you played that flat out? Was it a couple of hours?
Oh, if that, I think, if that.
Yeah. So they've got to balance that proposition. So they've got a couple of different ways they could go. They could stick with existing hardware, the Tegra X1, and try and up the clock speeds, basically, of the CPU and GPUs. To such a point that they can achieve... Well, at the minute, I would say in terms of actual, in terms of resolution, I think comfortably on the, when it's undocked, what's the one before 720p, mate? Do you remember?
Is it 480p?
Is it 480? Is it that low?
Is it? Yeah, I think so.
I think they try and keep it around 720p,
Yeah.
but it can drop to like 480p. And I don't think it's a rock solid 720p on all games. So you're talking things like Doom and the Wolfenstein games, which are very demanding. But when you dock it, I think they try and punch for 900p, and it can get to 1080, but I think it's in very rare, circumstances, because they've got this dynamic resolution scaler. So I think what they'll aim for with this Switch Pro is to hit a pretty steady 720p on most games undocked, and then a pretty steady 900p docked. If they can kind of nail that to the flagpole a bit more, for me, I think that'd be cool. And then alongside that, obviously, is because the biggest thing is, of course, frame rate. That comes first. They have this dynamic resolution scaler to make sure that they're hitting frame rates, so it's a smoother experience. But for most games, you see in 30 frames per second, really, on the Switch. You can't really ask for too much more.
And I mean, we just touched on it there. It needs a better battery for me. It's not good enough. You shouldn't go on a train journey and you deplete it on the way there. It wants to have a 4 or 5 hour battery life at least, in my opinion. Yeah,
or the option of a mode at least where you could perhaps, sacrifice some of the resolution scaling and it would last a bit longer. Or, I don't know. It's hard to say how they solve that one. But a bigger battery. If they do redesign the actual housing, can they squeeze in a bigger battery?
Well, the thing is, you've got to think the Switch is a couple of years old now, probably. Something like that.
Yeah.
Battery technology has moved on so much. Probably for the same size battery, you can get a more powerful battery.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily think that's a complete redesign. That might be a swap out an old, small, lower wattage one for a higher wattage one.
It's within their gift, as they say, but is it within their budget? Because we know what Nintendo are like.
Right. Yeah.
They like to release a console they can make money on from day one.
Yeah. I'd like to see an OLED screen, I'll be honest. I'd love to see that. I think it'd improve battery life. It would improve the look of it. I just think overall it would be better. But from what I've read on the internet, that is never going to happen.
No, mate, I absolutely agree. Because with an OLED screen, they are these organic pixels and they basically get turned off, don't they? If it's black, they get turned off and there's no power draw.
Yeah.
So it makes perfect sense. But it's the cost, isn't it, of manufacturing, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I don't know, but yeah, I'd agree. It'd be amazing with an OLED screen.
I think it's the same difference for me on another point that we've got. It needs bigger internal memory. My current phone has got 128 gigabytes of storage, and the Switch, which has potentially got to store lots of data, lots of gaming data, especially if we move into this more cloud-based gaming. It's got to store such a lot, and what it's got on there currently is just not acceptable. You can get like 5 or 6 games on there, and that's your lot.
Oh yeah,
it's not acceptable in my opinion. They've got to sort that. Has to.
You have to send games back to the cloud, don't you, willy-nilly? I've found it recently. And it's just a pain downloading them again. So I think what are you thinking in terms of an adequate internal storage?
I think it needs to be 128. I would be happy with 64 gig. I'm guessing currently it's got 32 gigs in. I'd be happy with 64, but I think given the size of memory these days, I think you're right. On a lot of these things, it will come down to cost, keeping the hardware cost as low as possible. And memory in these things tends to be one of the most expensive things, but I think it's worthwhile going to 128.
I'd just like to see them, because it's a pro model, they've got a bit of a ceiling. I'd pay, 350 quid if it meant we were going to get some decent internal storage. And while we're speaking about 100%. Memory as such, we should mention RAM as well. Currently, the Switch has 4 gigabytes of RAM. And again, I don't think this is gospel.
I mean,
go on.
Again, like I don't want to feel like I'm putting the Switch down, but compared to what's out there, that's quite low. you know.
Well, apparently, and again, I don't know if this is fact, but Capcom themselves came out when there was questions being asked about Resident Evil 7, the kind of first-person Resident Evil game, coming out for the Switch. And because I think it was streamed in Japan, they had this kind of streaming option for it. But
oh, that's cool.
Yeah, people got excited about it, and it does look a great game. Critically acclaimed rather. But in terms of apparently Capcom came out and said that the 4 gigabytes of RAM just aren't really enough to play with their game.
Yeah.
And it'd have to be too much of a compromise to get it on the Switch. So you'd hope, future-proofing it a bit, 8 gigs of RAM, invite a few more third parties on board.
Yeah. I think that would spark more interest in the system from developers, because they'll be like, oh, actually, there's a bit more to work with here.
Yeah.
Because undoubtedly, something that's coming out high end for the PS4 or Xbox, it's not a simple port to port that to a Switch, just because of the gulf in the hardware. Whereas those little incremental things make it a more viable option, I think, to port something from the powerhouses of the PS4 and the Xbox to the
Absolutely.
Switch.
It's about that. It's that mountain to climb, isn't it, from the developer's point of view?
Exactly.
If you can just lower that mountain a bit, make it more of a hill, well, then they'll see, well, hang on, the Switch is basically a license to print money at the minute. So if we can just ship this off to a smaller, little mini team within the dev team, maybe we can work on it. And especially for open world games, I'm pretty sure open world games do require a lot of RAM. So
obviously,
and you know that I won't stop going on about GTA for the Switch. So it's like my dream.
I mean, you're like a dog with a bone with GTA for the Switch, aren't you?
I probably wouldn't even buy it. I think I just know it would be really successful, and it would bring a lot of people flocking. No, I would buy it. Would it be a Ryan style purchase to put on a shelf, or would it be a purchase to play? Just to support the cause and encourage Rockstar to keep porting. Probably. But mate, how cool would that be? GTA Online on the Switch.
Oh yeah, it would be cool, especially as it's the only console that sort of goes anywhere at the moment. Whether we're moving into a scenario, and I'm guessing those that follow our content closely will be seeing another video dropping today, that will be moving more into that anything, anywhere type games. But what are we thinking? This Xbox Live is going to be coming to the Switch? There's rumours about that.
Yeah, another hot rumour that we know the relationship between Nintendo and Microsoft has eased. Harking back to was it Rocket League, where players on the Switch can play. People playing Rocket League on the Xbox, they loosened that up, and Sony notoriously they just won't even get involved. I think they did in the end. I can't remember if they have now, but they did.
I think they possibly.
They backed
But
down.
I mean, all the talk seems to be that Xbox and Switch are in the same bed.
Yeah.
They're like bosom buddies now.
Well, this is it. You've got
Just an
Cuphead
interesting
coming out. So apparently, in response, and again, this is a hint towards the other video dropping, but in response to things like Google Stadia and subscription services, they might, as you say, get in bed with Nintendo, so they could have some form of Xbox Live platform on the Switch, which they could.
Interesting.
I don't know, either
Really
stream games to, or maybe it's more like a storefront. You could buy certain games. Who knows?
Yeah, that's really cool. And I guess it would be good to see a Netflix and a YouTube app certainly on there on the Switch Pro, or even just moving forward onto all of the Switches. I think that would be useful for people. Maybe the younger guys that are playing on the Switches they don't really have access to those. Other than say on their phone, it would be a great addition, I think.
I think so. The kind of the people as well who use it as a portable device, take it on the airplane with them, take it out and about. I think it could do a lot to push people who are interested in the Switch but haven't really gone for it yet into buying it, because it can replace that other element in their lives. Yeah,
exactly. It's another string to the bow to think. Actually, that is worth a purchase, isn't it? It's about driving sales at this point, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And Yeah, I'd love to see 4K streaming. If they could, if they do put in the...
No
Mate,
chance.
I think if they get the Tegra X2,
Oh.
I think they could possibly look at that. That might be able to perform 4K streaming. I don't know. I'm not a technical person really, but
no,
that's the dream. We can be.
But surely the Switch screen is not 4K screen.
Oh, yeah. I didn't think of that.
So got to put a 4K screen on it to make it stream 4K content.
No, but what you could do, obviously, is when you dock it, it can stream 4K if you've got a 4K
yeah,
TV.
of course. Yeah, I see what
Which
you're saying.
I still think it could. I think it's possible.
Although, again, just so we're clear, the current hardware connections on the Switch dock don't allow for it to transfer 4K content.
Oh, really?
No.
I didn't know that. Yes.
Yeah, it's not HDR ready, is it?
What, on the Switch dock?
Yeah, I don't think so, mate.
It's HDMI that goes into your telly, isn't it? From the dock?
Yes, mate. But it has to be a certain type of HDMI.
Oh, is it like 2.0 or something?
Yeah, there's like 3 versions now, and it has to be the latest version in order to... And why would they have put it in the Switch? It would be more expensive to put it in the Switch. I don't know. I need to fact check this, so this might get cut out of the video. But I need to fact check this. But there's no point putting that connectivity in there. And I'm sure the Switch dock would have to be HDR ready to pass content to the TV.
So basically, also,
I'm sure it would.
Well, we know it can do 1080p docked in certain games, so it's obviously HD ready.
Yeah, but that's completely different.
It's not 4K.
That's completely different.
But so it's still possible, but it sounds like they'd have to then bring out a new dock as well, which sounds a lot less likely. So you've rained on my parade on
again,
that one.
Again, that one will be fact checked and then cut if it's incorrect. And then I think the last thing we'd like to see on the Pro, and I think everyone out there is crying out for this, is a redesign of the kickstand, which is basically useless.
Yeah, it can fall off. I think it can weaken in certain cases. It's not very sturdy. So
it's very poor, isn't it? Very poor.
I think it could do something. I suppose that I just wanted to say, Rich, I think they've got it. They can go one or two ways with this. They can keep the X1 chip and look at a better heat system and a bigger battery and try and overclock it.
So they can overclock it.
Get more from it. Or they can go with the Tegra X2, which probably is more of an investment from their point of view. But for me, that is just the smart move. Before anything else on this next Switch Pro, I'd love a Tegra X2, 8GB of RAM, and I'll be happy as Larry.
Yeah. Sounds good. Right, moving swiftly on to the Switch Mini. Now, we probably know even less about this than we do the Switch Pro. So what we're thinking is this is going to be a more budget orientated system. No removable Joy-Cons is what's sort of being talked about to make a smaller system, probably a smaller screen. What else do you know, Tabs?
To put it bluntly, mate, I don't care because I'm not going to buy it.
Okay, so it's looking like no rumble feature, and that's really all we know. It'll just be a stripped out version to try and drive a bit of sales through for maybe people that can't afford the full fat Switch, basically.
Yeah, I mean, we've heard no Joy-Cons. It's just going to be an all-in-one unit akin to the PS Vita. No HD rumble, which is a bit of a puzzler because some of their games kind of utilise that feature. So how they'll work that, I don't know. But I'm sure there's a workaround. And then just generally a smaller, cheaper build. Much in the same way as they had the 3DS and they brought out the 2DS aimed at those, the younger audience, making it more of a value proposition for parents to buy into.
Yeah, of course.
Instead of having maybe one 3DS in a household, if you've got kids, you might get your kids a 2DS each because it's more affordable.
Yeah.
So it's not aimed at us,
I don't think so. I think we'll maybe see some jazzy colours here as well. I don't see why they wouldn't do that. Maybe try and attract, like you say, attract the younger audience. Maybe they'll just do them in 4 colours or something. I don't know, red, blue, yellow, green, or whatever, just to make them look more inviting, I guess.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, they're gonna.
Yeah.
They're gonna do something, aren't they? I don't know if some crossover with Labo as well, because that's obviously aimed at a young audience.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna say as well, mate, on the Switch Mini. Last thing, sorry to to keep dragging us back.
Okay, no worries.
But I'd love to see, only because I've got nephews and I know how clumsy they are, like a heavy-duty bumper case for kids to go with the Switch Mini, because they can destroy things quickly.
So you've heard something about a patent from earlier this year that Nintendo filed.
Yeah.
Which sounds very interesting.
Apparently earlier this year, there was a patent for a TV array which creates a 3D effect similar to the 3DS. So like a stereoscopic 3D effect. I think what it does is it kind of fires two separate images at you. And then the way your eyes make sense of that is to create this kind of 3D image, something like that. But
similar sort of thing to the 3DS. So similar sort of like look to it, I guess.
Yeah, which is, it could be something and nothing, because at the same time, they seem to be leaving the 3DS behind. And I think the 3D aspect of the 3DS was a bit novelty. You know, I don't think it was the revolution that at first some people may have thought it was.
Yeah.
But, you know,
well, I think
it could sell some consoles if they had it, and Nintendo are great at bringing creative, innovative features that just make for brilliant gameplay experiences. So,
true, very true. Cool, I think that's all we've got time for today. Well, that's another video wrapped up. Remember, if you liked it, give us a like. If you didn't, a dislike.
Feedback's always good.
Remember to subscribe and click that bell for notifications. Well, Tabs, that's another video for the archives.
Stamped and completed.